Council meeting for Tuesday, October 13th, 2020. And move to adopt the agenda as presented. Second by Councillor Davenport. Any errors or omissions, additions? On the question, all those in favor, opposed, carried. We have the minutes of the regular meeting of council held Monday, September 14th, 2020. Move to adopt those as presented. Second by Councillor Anstead, who's not over my shoulder today. Excellent. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, on the question, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Minutes of the special meeting of council held Monday, September 30th, 2020. Move to adopt these as presented. Councillor Toohey seconds. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, on the question, all those in favor, opposed, carried. We have no delegations for this evening's meetings. We move on to public input. And are there questions from the public? Or from the press? This is for both.
Not me today, no.
Not you today, okay.
I have a few. Just as a point of information, was this published as a planning session and then that was changed? Because I looked at the schedule wrong and saw a planning session and thought, oh, there's no meeting today, but then I looked at it again. So was that changed?
Yes, originally we had this today as a planning session. We decided to move it and have a council meeting instead. Our planning session is next week.
My council made the decision at the last council meeting to change it, and maybe in the closed discussion it got published right away the following Monday, or the following business day. Sorry, not Monday.
Because I just all right. The 6.1, page 31, just asking about the chipper report and quotes. Obviously, there's more than just those two alternatives with regards to what council can do. For instance, you could contract it out to a contractor to do the chipping and they could send it to the Cache Creek compost facility. You could have Cache Creek and Ashcroft going together and doing their shared agreement or continuing adding that to that shared agreement. I think somewhere it said a regional initiative with the TNRD, which is I guess like the building inspector. Or charge for services. There's only seems to be only 22 people using the service, so you charge. You have that consolidated report bylaw with all kinds of fees being charged now. I think it would be appropriate to charge that for a service if the village wanted to save some money. But maybe the Public Works can walk me through the cost, because I didn't quite understand. $20 per load, 22 loads times 2 per year, that's $880. And the chipper was $27,000 or $35,000. But it said something about the operational and fee costs would still be a little bit lower with regards to all the labor costs. So can you add those costs for me, because I'm not too sure how much the line in the line that would say how much in the financial statement, what would the line cost be for community yard waste cleanup? So,
Your Worship, so we do a fall cleanup and spring cleanup. The average is approximately 22 loads every time we do one, and that's why it's 2 times per year, because there's a spring and a fall cleanup, and we pay $20 at this point in time per load that we haul to the dump. So that equals out to approximately $880, and these are approximation costs because they can actually fluctuate on us. And could be 22, could be 30 loads. We don't really know. The cost for the chipper, like it says, it's depending on where you say find one out in there. We've only found 2 here locally at this point in time. There are some back east, Saskatchewan, Ontario, depending on where you want to look. But the average anyway range from $27,000 to $35,000 depending on the unit at the time. These are for used units. If you want to buy a new unit, you're looking at a lot larger cost, so it all depends on when you can find one and the availability. And the availability is very rare in the province of BC to actually pick one up. They've only showed up at a couple at a point in time. So the maintenance costs and everything else, per looking at that, if we end up purchasing one, we have the purchase price of approximately $27,000 to $35,000. Then we have the insurance cost on it. We have the maintenance of oil changes, chipper blades, or whatever they might cost on top of that. We also have to be able to storage it and things along that line. So that's where the operational cost, I feel, is more extreme than what would be purchasing and what we do now. Yes, we can look at a chipper, and brought it in there in the report. Also, there was, depending on the pricing, where you're looking at to bring in chipper. A small chipper to bring in is roughly $150 an hour to bring the person in. For a larger chipper, it's anywhere from $400 to $500 an hour to put it on. And we had also looked at, if we purchased the chipper, if we had it ourselves, then we do have a larger labor cost of being able to go around to every single residence or wherever we might be working at the time to feed it, to chip it, and then also we have to get it the appropriate truck to actually be able to blow the chippers into, which has to be a cube type of a truck that we don't have at this point in time. So it's all those types of costs compared to what we're doing at this point in time. This point in time, we do load up, we haul it to the landfill, which TNRD, talking to them, they bring in a contractor, and talking to Jamie Vieira from TNRD, they say they don't even really cover their costs by bringing the person in, so with conversation. So that's why a recommendation through that report was we stay status quo and just haul our stuff to TNRD, and then they recycle it from there.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question?
Well, no, I understood all that. I was just wondering where the labor costs were in relation to I understand the chipper is really, really expensive and stuff, but I'm just wondering how much it costs for labor for those weeks that you use. The staff is obviously not doing what they would be able to do otherwise, so how much is that in labor costs? Let's estimate 40 man-hours, or how much an hour does that cost? $4,000 or something? A lot cheaper than chipper. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Yes, much less expensive than a chipper.
Make sure in 2 days, right? 2 days? For our spring cleanup, is it 2 days in the spring, 2 days in the fall?
It's usually a 3-day.
Okay.
But even
For how many staff?
For 3 staff.
Yeah, so your worship, three days, twice a year for 3 staff members is what our costs would be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, that's what I was looking for. Number 3 is 7.5, the Foster Family Month. Is that going to be advertised on the website, the Facebook, and newsletter then?
What, this Foster Family Month?
Yes.
This is Foster Family Month?
Yes.
Generally, we put something in the newsletter if it meets the cutoff. Unfortunately, the foster family information generally comes, or in the past has come too late for us to be able to include it in the newsletter, because by the time it comes to us, there's only a couple of days left in the month.
So it'll be on website and Facebook?
That will be up to our intern to decide where she decides to put that information.
8.1, the task tracker. I'm just wondering why the sign bylaw is not on there. There was some information that was asked to be updated from the last meeting minutes, and the sign bylaw was kind of in halfway. There was 2 readings.
The sign bylaw, it's still up for discussion. That's going to be coming back to the October, the meeting at the end of October. The way it was introduced was the businesses would have 6 weeks in order to review it and make comments.
And the mass alert system, I'm just wondering, it says that one is completed on the task tracker. So what system did the village adopt? Is it the Buoyant Alert?
The Buoyant Alert system, yes, it's the same system that the TNRD's gone with.
Okay, and did the funding for the old Caribou Road crossing, how much did they agree to do it? The CN?
CN, have we had any updates from CN? So we have spoken to them, we've asked them to review because we're under the belief that it's up to them to maintain that crossing because our road was there first and we haven't had a response from them.
Okay, it does say that that was finished, so I'm just wondering why it's saying it's finished when.
What page was that on?
On the task tracker, I don't have a page, it's 8.1, wherever the task tracker is, page 31 to 33.
Agricultural.
32, second, third wall.
Second at the bottom.
Third wall.
Oh, see if any of the funding has been allocated. Oh, okay, that's probably just an error. It should probably still be in progress then.
Okay,
We have,
thank you. 10
oh,
point-
hold on, just one moment.
So, Your Worship, no, the task assigned to that motion was to contact CN and
Oh, okay.
query, and that's been sent.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're waiting for response, but our portion has been completed.
Oh,
Okay, thank
so
you.
you're just waiting for this.
Yeah.
10.1, the EDTC. I'm just wondering where you can find on the website or wherever the investment and community profile that's referred to.
Is it on our website, our community profile, or is it something that's waiting to be ported over?
The investment profile is the one that's on Invest BC.
Oh.
That's our profile that's attached to that. We're
Right.
working, getting her access, and she wants to update that. And the other one, I don't believe our community profile is up because it's so outdated. That's what she's working on updating. It's not on the website at the moment.
Okay. No, it needs to be updated.
Yes.
And 11.1, the mayor's report, just a couple of things. The TNRD are live streaming, so they're no longer filming. So does that mean there's still going to be copies available of the live stream broadcast? Or
I believe the intention, they have not started live streaming yet. I'm expecting that to start on the meeting on Thursday. And I believe the intention is to not only live stream it live as it happens, but also to do what the city of Kamloops does, which is live stream and then have them up on an archive on the website.
Okay, perfect. And the healthcare, the 2 doctors, we're down to 2 doctors now. And you had mentioned with the meeting that you were at, that the practice-ready assessment might be able to provide another doctor through that program? Is that?
The way the practice-ready assessment works is you apply to them and say that you would like to apply to have a physician under that program, and then they look at your application. If you are approved, then it will be at least 6 months before you get in a physician, because they then have to take someone into the system. The ones that are already in the system that are working through their 6-month program have already been spoken for by other communities.
And are we supposed to have 4 doctors at this point?
There is no quota. The way it works is physicians work on attached patients, and it's been decided that physicians in this area should have an attached patient list of between 1,800 and 2,000 patients.
So the fellow that left is because he didn't have that quota or that number?
He was below that quota, and the other 2 doctors who are here still are at that quota.
And the bylaw, the RCMP were saying that they'll do some bylaw enforcement. So is that vehicle bylaw enforcement? Is that, I mean, there are some things that they supposedly have to do that isn't a bylaw, but like parking too close to a stop sign or no license. And I know a lot of people do complain about this one. Trailers on public property that don't have licenses, are they still doing those ones, or are those the bylaws, which aren't bylaws, are those the ones that they're talking about enforcing?
It depends on if it's a Motor Vehicle Act infraction or if it's a bylaw infraction. If it's a ticketable bylaw infraction on our side, they can help us with that. Which means if there's like a penalty attached to it or a fine attached to it, they can help us with those. I don't believe they'd be able to go and tell someone that their dogs are too noisy. That's the difference.
And we're not talking about an RCMP officer becoming a
No.
bylaw enforcement.
No,
This
they
is
would be
separate.
able to assist a bylaw officer, but they would not become a bylaw officer for the village.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. We move on to bylaws, and we have none to discuss tonight. So on to item 6.1, the chipper report. Go back to it. And so we have a staff recommendation here. What is council's pleasure on the staff recommendation? Or on this motion? Councillor Toohey.
Thank you, Mayor Roden. I'll move that we go with the staff recommendation and not go forward with the chipper at this time.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anstett seconds that. And discussion on this item. Councillor Anstett? Councillor Anstett? Yes.
I'm just wondering if now is a good time to maybe possibly start with the reviewing of the outdoor burning bylaw again, with the news of cost of a chipper and whatnot. Maybe we can get staff to look into.
I will defer to CAO Dick on that. I mean, the reason that we deferred the discussion in the first place was because of the difficulty of having a large public meeting.
That's correct, Your Worship. That was the intent when council deferred it, was to allow for a public meeting. And in order for us to get a real sense of what the community wants, we would have to have a large gathering at the hall. So would we get 50 people or 45 people out? I don't know, but it would definitely, we can explore options if you really want. I suppose we could do it like we did our public hearing and we did our live stream the last time when we had the opportunity to ask questions. But I think to get a true sense of what the community wants and to really, if we're gonna revisit it, I think we should do it in a true form as possible so that we get as much public input as we can.
There's a lot of people I'm finding are still uncomfortable with the Zoom, with Facebook, with the
Yes.
live streaming options. And right now the limit is 50 people in a gathering indoors, and we would have to factor in that 10 of those people would be council and staff.
Yes.
And I believe that in the height of the fires in 2017, when we were holding public meetings, we were getting 150 to 175 people. The water treatment plant meetings were getting close to 100. So any item which is hot button and upon which people have very definite views, which the burning bylaw certainly will qualify as, I think we do need to have a true public meeting, not just 40 people maximum in the community hall and other people being told, well, you can live stream it. No, you do raise a good point though. You know,
And we've had quite a few phone calls or emails into the office asking when it's coming. I think you're not alone, there's quite a few people, they know that the discussion is out there and they would like to see that discussion move forward, but again, that's been the response that we've been giving. Once we can have a public meeting that will allow the public in all forms and unrestricted public is probably our best.
I mean, winter is probably a good time to gather information
Mhm.
and see if then we can have an early spring meeting, depending on what the provincial health officer has said at that time about gatherings.
Mhm.
Because, you know, we don't know what COVID-19 is going to do and how the landscape might change.
An alternative could be multiple meetings too. You could
Mhm.
host more than one. And, you know, if we can't have a large meeting in the spring, if this coronavirus continues as is, we may have to consider other options. but-
Yeah, and that might be a good one, and that would also, if we did a series of meetings, it would be able to hopefully address the question of evening meetings don't work for everyone, daytime meetings don't work for everyone. So if we were able to then have a mix of evening and daytime meetings, that might then also help us to reach more people. So is there any discussion on the chipper? I had a chance to talk to CAO Dick about this earlier, and I do like the idea of possibly looking into renting one, maybe twice a year. That might be a possibility. And maybe having, I don't know, then we'd have to maybe look into having it in a central location, or if we hired a firm to come in, then they'd be able to drive it around, and then that takes that out of the equation. Councillor Toohey.
Thank you, Mayor Roden. Yeah, I don't think it's something that we should forever say, no, we're not going to. The way it looks right now financially, it isn't the way it should be. But not saying in the future that it isn't something that would come up. I mean, I think it would fit into, you know, rather than filling a landfill, or that it would be reused, that sort of thing. So yes, something I think we should still keep in the back of our minds for a one-day thing. And I mean, our village may grow enough that it would make more sense.
Councillor Davenport.
Thank you, Mayor. And like anything else, I see the point of, and the desire for one, but like anything else, that we need to earmark it for the budget. So that it's not forever, but it might be something that we look down the road and make sure that the cost can be covered. And the magic word, maybe there's even a grant for it.
And I think we just have to bear in mind the ancillary costs that Director Benowith mentioned, having to get a truck to put it into that we don't have, and the staff time and the insurance, etc. Because it's all these extra costs that suddenly it's like, wow, this is a lot more expensive than we thought it was going to be. Any more discussion? Yes, Director Benowith.
Just for information's sake, TNRD for Loon Lake, they bring in a contractor from Callants, and it's approximately, for their small area, takes them approximately 3 days to do their chipping for their, at a cost of approximately $150 an hour.
Right. Okay, thank you. Councillor Tu?
One other question that sort of has to do with this, when is the fall pickup?
It's the last week of this month, which is 28th, 29th, I do believe, Wednesday, Thursday of this month.
I've been having people asking me. Thank you.
Just for information, councillors, for that we are doing it new this year where you don't phone in. You just put your product out there. We basically travel most of the roads, and due to staffing and a lot of phone calls and stuff like that, we're advertising out there that just have it out there the week before, no earlier than the week before, we ask, so it doesn't get blown around and stuff like that. But yeah, it's to put out your product, and we'll be by to pick it up.
Great, thank you.
Okay. All right, on the question then, all those in favor of the motion, opposed, carried. Thank you. Move on to a tax sale report from CFO Bala.
Yes, Your Worship, as I've written, it was an interesting tax sale. All things are always interesting. It went off fairly smoothly, and you see the amounts we received. There was bidding, and we did receive the amounts. And so the village liability has been taken care of, and taxes owed, and all the work we did over time. My hope is that the properties develop and then they can come back into the market. We will see. There were positive indications. The purported buyers were hounding me a week before. They never showed up, so we had to move forward and get it dealt with. This week I'll be registering everything on land titles, and then they have a year to redeem, and then we move forward. We did receive more than our set price, but we don't tend to keep that. Just that goes back if it is redeemed. If it's not, there's some other rules, but even then, generally we don't keep it. So, in case council is excited that we got 339, we only get to keep the tax owed.
And you also get some the cost of the transferring the titles, etc. So
That's right. There's certain specified list per statute which we allow 5 different things, and including the land registry and those costs.
thank you. So we get to wait a year. What's the October the 4th of next year, did you say?
Legislation says it starts at the day which was September 28th, but as being always careful so we don't ever end up in court, I will wait till the same day next year. So it was held on, initially scheduled and held on October 5th, so I will wait till October 4th, 12 p.m. October 5th next year, just to make sure. Though legislation allows me to halt it on September 28th.
And I think too, just it's important to know when people find out about the sales, that your line in here, development of the properties is not allowed until the ownership transfers, because I think a lot of people are expecting that now that they have sold at tax sale, that
We'll see an improvement.
we'll see improvements immediately, and I think it's important just to temper people's expectations and say it will be at least a year. All right, well, thank you very much for that. I know you weren't entirely looking forward to it, but it's done. All right, Director of Public Work Project Updates, pages 14 and 15. Thank you very much for the very fulsome report here, and does council have any questions, comments about any of the projects discussed here? No? So is the work at on the roof of the pool pretty much finished now?
It is pretty much 95% finished. It was a little bit of flashing, and we have contracted them to do a little extra flashing around where the solar panels attached and stuff. There's a couple of gray areas, and we just want to make sure it's complete, and that was the extra cost of approximately $1,800 to make sure it's complete and seated.
And are there any more inspections of the curling club that need to be done?
Inspections of the curling club, we just had a report that's supposed to be coming from technical safety. We have a temporary, one of the inspections from technical safety says we need to have panic hardware, proper doors in the back of the building, and a free-on test system, which has to be hardwired in, and a screen available for people as they walk in there. That is approximately 6 weeks away. To have it operational at this point in time for the curling club, we have to purchase a temporary portable one. So that has just arrived as of today. So he's following up a report saying that this will do in the interim, and his report will reflect that we have 90 days to finish the rest. The engineers have been on site, did a site inspection. They were happy with everything else and basically signed off with that. So everything's coming along here and finishing up, but just a couple of additional things that we have to take care of. Work safe at this point in time. We're not sure where we stand with them, and it all depends on the operation of the curling club, whether there will be contractors or village employees in there. It relates because they're an entity of their own. They don't have to follow, shall we say, as much right away to be in compliance.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? CFO Bella.
The system has started, and they're cooling down and starting to work on laying the.
So you're starting to make ice? Okay, that's good. That would be nice to see that fired up.
We're hoping to do ice wash here starting next week and curling the first part of November.
Oh, nice.
Wow, that's great.
Okay.
They're having a second registration. I just talked to an individual today. They have, I think, 30 some odd for seniors, and we're hoping to get a few more registries. There's a few people that are talking about it, but registration fees haven't been paid yet, so they're not put on the books.
Don't count the chickens before they've paid their curling fees. There's an image, curling chickens. Okay. Anything else? Well, thank you very much. Just shows how much, it's always good to see it all in one place like this. It's like, wow, you flip the page and see the next set of projects that are underway. All right, thank you. Move on to item 7.1. Gold Trail trustee Vicki Trill elected to branch president. Replaces another Gold Trail trustee, Nancy Rempel. So I'd like to move that the village send trustee Vicki Trill a letter of congratulations on her recent election as president, Thompson Okanagan branch of BC School Trustees Association.
Anyone else?
Pick a counselor. Counselor 2, I saw your hand first. All right, all those in favor, opposed, carried. And then we have information correspondence. Counselor Tui,
Move to receive and file the information.
thank you. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Anstead. Second. All right, I'd like to break out one of these items if I can and ask that we do have October recognized as Foster Family Month, where appropriate through the village media outlets. Don't think we need a motion for that, do we?
No.
And I know, that thinking about it, that's why we usually don't end up, because usually we only have the one meeting in October, it's at the end of the month, and by the time this comes up, it's already the 28th or 29th of October, and the month is over. Councillor Tui.
Thank you, Mayor Roden. It was interesting reading the letter from Brad Viss to the minister on how politics works. You could see it right in the letter. I found that quite interesting, how everything gets passed on to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, something gets done about the flooding. So that's quite important.
Yes, well, the village of Cache Creek is looking at having gauges, snow and water gauges put back onto in the area which were removed. And they did talk to the provincial government about it, but it's a federal matter. But we're asking the province for support, so it's all the layers.
Yep.
All right, on the motion to receive and file, all those in favor, opposed, carried. We come to the motion and task tracker, pages 31 to 33. And I would like to move to receive and file. Councillor Anderson seconds. Any comments on any of the items here? No? Thank you for the very comprehensive list, as always. CFO Bala?
Your Worship, I would just notice the debts are paid off. So it says in progress there, but it's paid.
Oh, yes, we paid off our debts. We paid off the fire engine, primary fire engine, and the loan for the water treatment plant.
Color that green.
We are debt free. So just like to commend CFO Bella and staff for their excellent work in keeping us on track. Signed the transfer. I'm not used to signing things with that many zeros on the end of it, so I just looked at it for a little minute there, and no, it was good. We did have it was something of a battle for the water treatment plant funding and for the fire truck funding. So to be in a position to pay them both off 15 years early was excellent.
Yeah.
So on the motion to receive and file, all those in favor, opposed, carried. And we have no new business. We move on to item 10.1, the Economic Development Steering Committee, and there is actually a motion arising out of this, and that is to approve the spending of $4,000 on a development video, promotional video to be shot within the next couple of weeks in Ashcroft to take advantage of the fall colors. So do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Davenport, thank you. And this money does come out of the money that's been set aside from Northern Development Initiative Trust for Economic Development. So the decision was that we had the hotel promotion ad, which has gone over very well, and the decision was made to have another video that complements it but is less specific as to what precise type of development we're looking for, to make it more general, to appeal to anyone who would like to come to Ashcroft.
If I may, Your Worship, I guess it's a success story. We had another investor in the office this afternoon asking to speak to myself and to see about the hotel study, and they were looking at, and did we have lands identified for, and so I gave him a copy of the study. So there's interest. That promotional video has certainly sparked interest.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. On the motion then, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Move on to council reports. Does anyone have any questions about anything contained in my council report? No? Just wanted to elaborate on the, where is it now? The meeting with the Ashcroft commanding officer, Sergeant Engman. He's been here for almost 3 months now, and he was talking about the structure at the detachment. We have always operated here with a sergeant and constables. We have never had a corporal. What he says he's already finding is that the reason we get a lot of constables coming here straight out of depot, and I get that, they have to go somewhere. The reason we get a lot of recruits coming straight out of depot is because there is no obvious route for advancement in Ashcroft. If they are a constable with seniority or with years of standing who are looking to get a promotion to corporal, they will have to go elsewhere. So Lytton has a corporal, the detachment commander in Clinton is a corporal, Lillooet has a corporal. So he would like in the new year possibly to start lobbying for a corporal's position here in Ashcroft, which would help him as CO and would also make it more attractive for members, because he says we have one member here now who would love to retire here. But he's a constable. If he wants to advance, he will have to leave the community at some point. So. Also, he said that the schedule right now is 6 days on, 3 days off. So they work 6 days on and they work their shifts. They are also on call then for those 6 days as well. So when they get home, they could get called out again. He said in a limited duration posting, an LDP, those are 2 years. If you're young and it's a 2-year posting, 6 on, 3 off, for 2 years is doable. He said this is a 4-year posting in Ashcroft. You get to 2 years of doing that here and you still got 2 years to go, which is another barrier. So. All right. No other questions? No resolutions released from closed meeting. Oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Resolution to adjourn to closed meeting. Oh, CFO Ballard?
Your Worship, it's final quarter, so I thought I'd do a quick presentation of where we are financially.
Okay.
Rather than.
Can everyone see clearly?
No signal.
I have a signal.
Oh, this one. Doesn't like me today. Oh, there it is. Now it likes me. Okay, so these are the statements up to September. Overall, we are ahead. As you can see, the budget is further away. We're ahead by 350,000 just on the expense side, but overall we're doing well again, which is nice to see before the end of the year. So I'm going to drill into the areas where we have negative variances. So general government has a negative variance of 11,000, and this is due to some changes. So just sorting out by the variance here, with the negative being on top. The salaries and wages have 22,000 negative variance, and that's because we moved the public works into administration, and budget remains in public works. So it's showing positive in public works. The GST eligible for rebate, that's just something due to us. It's actually a receivable. And municipal office O&M, we had to do a bunch of things to the office, including the video conferencing system, which is helping us with travel and everything else. So that's why the negative variance is there. Going down, the positive variance is in legal fees paid. It's distributed across in that particular area. So it's always nice not to have to pay too many legal fees. Thank you, CEO. Going back to this fiscal service is a little bit on the, but it's a small area, a small account, and that's due to actually, if I look at the negative variance, it's accrued interest on gas tax. So it's an accounting entry which makes it look negative till the year ends, and then I adjust it. So it's really not negative. Other than that, we're overall doing well. As you can see, the budget is 798. We are at 710. So that room is the positive room. So we're doing well, which is good to see. So looks like forecasting to the end of the year, we should be okay. Some of the recreation and cultural services, why we are so far ahead is we did not anticipate on making any money, but we did end up opening our legacy park, the pool, and the less expenses because we didn't open as long and we didn't have as many capital expenses overall. So back again there. So if you look at it, let's talk about community hall. We had a little bit of negative because we did some work on the flooring, right? And pool, we've got a O&M, we've got a positive variance because we haven't spent as much, though we are spending on the roof right now. Okay. So that's the general operating fund. On the revenue side, I could switch to revenue. We've done, like select everything. Negative, this is actually better. So it's the opposite side. So we've got a large variance, but a lot of that is gets cleared out because it's taxes coming in and going out to the various bodies, school tax, all the rest of it. So, but overall on the revenue side, we are fine as well. Taxes, looking at taxes alone, there's a minor negative variance. But we did not end up doing the increases. Excuse me, if you remember, we didn't do the increases. We didn't. I didn't even change the non-market values. And we did quite well despite that. I did look at the collection figures. They're not as bad, so we're fairly reasonable. I will bring a report back to council. I'm still doing some collections, but overall we aren't too far off our norm, which is excellent given the conditions. Some businesses are having trouble keeping up, and so this year we had the 10% penalty normal time for residents as per legislation, and it was September 30th for business. I haven't applied it yet, so we got a grace of another couple of weeks. It will be applied this week because I'm required to, but they were given extra time to pay. Sewer operating fund. Takes a minute to switch. We're doing okay. I removed the project cost because everything shows lots of money moving back and forth. So we are okay on the sewer operating fund. Actually, I should move to expenses. Revenue side, we were over. On the expense side, we are a little bit negative, but it's not there's a lift station expenses upgrade going through. That's more capital side of things. End of this year, I'm going to try and, unfortunately, our accounting, how public sector PSAB accounting is, we don't quite look at capital in the same way as private sector entities look at. So I'm trying to find a way to kind of segregate it, keep it segregated, while keep council informed. So that's why, you see the accounts. So project-wise, we're doing fine as well. Which is tied more to our cash flow, and our cash flow, we were able to pay off our debts, and we have 3.5 million still in the account. Quite a bit of that is going to be paid out, but we'll end up with over $1 million still in there. It gives us a cushion going forward, right? So that's sewer operating fund expense side. Revenue side, you just saw before I switched, we were over by 29,000. And that's the increases catching up. Sewer operating increases are Our one more increase is left, water is finished. Water operating fund, this big number is the grant, so that throws it off. I should exclude it, but on the revenue side, we are fine. On the expense side, we're a little bit negative. You saw 63,646. And if you look at that, it is, we decided we got a deal on the generator, emergency generator, we moved forward with it. So that's causing some of the negative variance. It's offset by the revenue side, right? So we've got, don't take that 1.4 million, that's just the project, but we have a positive 45,000 variance right here in the user bills, which will offset buying the generator. So overall, quick review. Overall, we're in good shape heading to the end of the year. Hopefully no surprises, unlikely. But you know, we'll end up close to our budget again, which is fantastic given all the changes we went through this year.
Well, you were rather worried, I remember, when COVID hit and before property taxes, that we might have more issues, more challenges surrounding property taxes this year, and you're saying that not really?
Yeah, I will bring the collection report back as well. I mean, we are in line a bit higher, but not significantly, not twice or thrice higher in delinquencies or you know, or arrears. So which is fantastic, which signifies that our community is handling it much better than a lot of the other communities. We are in an enviable position, you know, to be managing well. Any other questions from council?
Any questions?
No, it's awesome.
No?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That did remind me though, the generator for the pump station, I guess that wasn't working on Saturday for the power outage, was it?
Yes, it was.
Oh, wasn't it?
Well, your worship, it's too, it was working for supply and water and stuff, but we didn't have control totally for our reservoir, and that's what this other generator will accomplish in the tail end of it. So, yes, it was.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right, any other comments? Thank you, CFO Bala, for that. All right. Move to take this into a closed section. Councillor Anstett seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.